I chose Socioeconomic Status, or SES, for my project, and how does it affect education, or more importantly, our students? But before we can talk about exactly what socioeconomic status is, we must first talk about social stratification, which is the way society structures individuals or groups or like families. And the text explains it as class is a system that differentially structures group access to economic, political, cultural, and social resources. So within each of these classes, or your class identity, comes along economic, political, cultural, and social privileges, so to speak, or resources. The majority of the people right around the middle class or pride themselves into being middle class. So after knowing that, we can talk about exactly what socioeconomic status is. And what it really is a measurement of the economic condition or the economic success of a particular person or family. And there's 5 things that they usually use that determine the socioeconomic status. 1 being occupation or your job, 2 your educational attainment, or 3 your income, and then usually 4 and 5 if you have any wealth and power, when wealth meaning property, insurance, and power is like committee of state boards or corporation boards. So how does SES affect our students? First, our personal opportunities. Some of these lower income families can't afford to send their kids to school. They can't pay for gas. They can't pay for lunch. They might not even have a school in that area in which they live. Another one is academic vocabulary, depending on their home life, their parents, and what educational level they got to, might determine that academic vocabulary. And teacher bias, a really big one, is some of these kids are stigmatized in elementary school or primary school and end up categorized by that socioeconomic status of their parents. Educational opportunities like college, trade schools. A lot of these kids from lower income families, they don't believe that it is a reachable goal. Their home life. Some of these kids, you never know where a kid's coming from. Some of these kids have a real hard time at home. So whenever they do get to come to school, I imagine it's somewhat of a culture shock. So another way that SES affects students is through literacy skills. I mean, knowledge is power, and we get knowledge from reading. And if maybe one of the parents was caught up in that SES trap as a child, then they didn't get the proper education they needed as far as literacy, and it's hard to pass that down from generation to generation. So how do we overcome, or how do we defeat this impact of SES? First thing we need to consider is to teach the psychology of success. Make sure that every student knows that education is available to them, whether it be college, trade school, GED. All of these kids are entitled to some sort of education. Second, technology. Most of the time when you find these lower income housing students, they don't have access to that technology. They don't have computers in their bedrooms. They don't have iPads and iPhones and stuff like that. So we need to try to get these kids involved with this technology and close that technological gap. So how do we teach for equality? Eliminate discriminatory testing and placement. That comes into that primary thing again. Get rid of curriculum that serves just that upper middle class. It should also reflect on low income experiences. Equal funding, tax systems for different class brackets. We need to fix that. We need to concentrate on teaching for equality. Thank you for watching my presentation on socioeconomic status.